Welcome back, everyone, to another episode. We are so excited to be here with you. It's Analena and the beautiful Alex. So, today we're going to dive into another spiritual money talk because we have been having a lot of fun with those, and our relationship with money has been expanding very profoundly. I mean, I want to say over the last 7 years, but this year in particular. And we want to just bring this energy to you because it just serves more people, when we can share this. And since, we have a podcast and a YouTube channel and stuff like that, we're like, yeah, let's do this. And today we want to talk about something that we tend to avoid so beautifully, most of us, when it comes to money. It's like avoiding triggers, right? Like, I have done it. And then what happens when I avoid it? It comes back again later, even stronger, and I wonder, why do I keep repeating the same patterns with money over and over again? So, yeah, just being honest.
I mean, yeah, I think everyone has triggers and patterns around money. Even people with a lot of money, sometimes even especially more so people with money. Um, having having unhealthy money patterns isn't reserved to the ones that are not experiencing a lot of money in their reality.
Yeah, that's a really good point. This has nothing to do with how much money you have in your bank account right now, right? Because having a healthy money relationship doesn't necessarily mean you make primarily a lot of money. It can absolutely be. And some of us, you're maybe more in the lower spectrum of how much money you have and maybe more struggling with scarcity. And some other people may have actually a lot of money also built from a place of scarcity and fear, and it has created an illusion of safety. And they're in a constant state of fear of losing the money or not dealing with the money really well and have a huge codependency there, right? So, exactly, that's not really what this conversation is mainly about. What it's about is how can money be our spiritual teacher so that we, no matter how much money we have access to in our bank account, that we feel really good about money, where we are relaxed, where your nervous system feels safe. And from that place, let's say you have already a lot of money, you actually get to enjoy the money and you're also okay and relaxed when the money goes down a little bit. But there is this like balanced energy, or when you are more on the lower spectrum with money, that you can also be in the state of trusting and knowing you will always be taken care of because you're here today, you're listening, you have access to a bunch of technology. I think you're doing probably pretty well if we give ourselves a moment to really look at the reality of things, right? Because we're so easy always like, yeah, but if I had more money. And that's not the solution because so many of us think it's just making more money. But there are so many books out there are so many podcasts out there, so many other teachers that I have listened to. One book that comes to me by Carl Sees, The Illusion of Money, where people have interviewed hundreds and thousands of highly so-called successful financial people, but they're unhappy, they're broke inside. And if you were asking them how their relationship is with money, it can be terrible. And you can have people that have very little in the context of how much money is in their bank account, and they're super happy, they're super content, they live their best life, they feel really relaxed about money, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so this is for everyone what we're going to talk about today. Our intention is that you feel amazing when it comes to money, like it's your best friend. And we want to help you by talking about the importance and the beauty of triggers. And if this triggers you, please stay here and listen because it's going to be very magical today.
Oh, so good. Well, my throat chakra is clearing. May I?
Yeah, that's usually what happens when we talk about uncomfortable stuff, right? We're like, and all these things. So,
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Alex,
Did I interrupt you?
yeah, guys, we're having a little bit of fun. So, I would love to hear from you. What is your default tendency or used to be in the past when triggers around money were coming up? And what has shifted for you?
So good. Yes, this is going to be juicy.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I would love to share that in Kabbalah it says that whatever you rely on in your life for safety, for happiness, for anything external, whether that's a relationship or friendship or physical things or money, if you're relying on that money, let's say that because we're in the money talks right now, if you're relying on your money to bring you a certain feeling, safety, security, happiness, validation, whatever it is, it's got to go away because the universe actually wants you to experience those things, those feelings without the external help.
From
With
within, right?
yes. And this is in short, if you want, if you don't want to listen to the rest of this episode, but please stay. That's why in short, you create, it's the other way around. You got to reverse engineer it, right? So money will never give you those things. Otherwise, it'll have to leave if you rely on it for those feelings. But when you can cultivate those feelings within you as a default state, which when people talk about you change your frequency, you change your vibration, you change your way of being, you become a magnet to wealth and to money. That's what happens is you have shifted your frequency inside. You have learned how to nurture and condition those feelings as a go-to state. And that doesn't mean you can't tip off sideways or, like we're talking about today, get triggered or feel angry or unhappy sometimes too, right? But your base level frequency is what attracts things and blessings, including money, financial wealth, that is here to stay. And that is here to make you feel fulfilled. And when it sits in your bank account, you're not constantly afraid that it'll go or like now I have this much. And the financial roller coaster we talked about in one of our, I think maybe it was the first episode and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
before diving into story, I just wanted to give that frame.
Actually, this is beautiful because it is connected. It's kind of like the story for context before we get in the trigger, because this is seriously so important. And I think we have talked about this already, right? It's not that we want the money, we want how we feel when we think we have the money. Because let's be real, if you're just after the money, and that's something also we talked about over Voxer this week. Like, when is it enough, right? Then you're gonna make more money, and then you feel like, but now people say I should make this, and now this, and there's always more, and we can ever never be satisfied with what we have. So this is one of the dynamics there, and the big question is now, okay, but how can I tap into the feeling now that I actually want, thinking once I have X amount of money? And this is now where I find from my experience triggers really come in, because I used to have a very hard time when I started my self-development journey and working on my relationship with money, of like feeling wealthy, feeling abundant, or feeling gratitude for what I had. And when I realized that I had a lot of unprocessed emotions stuck in my energy field that were in a way a layer on top of these feelings of abundance that are within myself, but I couldn't access them. And while I totally believe no matter where you're at, we can all try to just for a minute or 10 seconds think about something that, oh my gosh, you're so grateful for, something that makes you feel so rich and abundant from within yourself. If that's your kids, if that's some flowers, nature outside, a beautiful stranger that's giving you a smile. When we look, I think we can all find so much around us. Just look at the sun when it's out. It's everywhere, right? So, but I don't think it's enough, because we need to integrate both of the spectrums of the polarities we have in life. And we humans, we tend to want to avoid, hence triggers, the darker stuff, right? The uncomfortable stuff. And that's why, at least for me, this whole like just positive thinking and just focusing on the positive, while it's totally important, if we only focus on this while we resist something that is there on the more heavy spectrum in terms of triggers and what we want to avoid, I think we're never going to fully get there because we keep resisting the uncomfortable feelings and emotions, and that will catch up with us eventually. That's why I think so many people see some maybe short-term quick results with this positive, only focus on positive things, but then it bounces back. Because if I still in my energy field have, for example, a lot of unprocessed anger or unprocessed shame, insecurity, inadequacy that I have never allowed myself to feel, that is actually covering up this inner state of abundance, then it can only, it's almost like, you know, when you have like a band and you pull it like a rubber band and then boom, it actually bounces back and it really hurts. That's how I see it. And that's, I think it's what's happening with a lot of people when they have these yo-yo effects with money, with diets, we see it everywhere, right? Because it comes from a place of, I want this to be happy. Once I have it, I'll feel better. But we are working on, okay, let's embody this feeling in the now without needing the money in the bank account, without needing the relationship, without needing the amazing body that you think is going to give you the confidence. Let's focus on from the inside out. And you know, Alex, what I just realized, because we have known each other for such a long time, it's 7 years almost, right? We are coming to this beautiful cycle. You and I, we talked about this already 7 years ago. Like it's an inside job, and from, you know, we want to create something from the inside to the outside. But we have learned so much, and it wasn't that clear to me like how to do this. But we put this out there and we kept asking questions, and we have been shown all these amazing tools and wisdom over these years. And I'm just so grateful now that we can share what we have learned with you guys to give you a shortcut in some way. If you're willing to go there, because what we're going to talk about now, with all this background information, it may be a little bit triggering. So now we can dive into the triggers now is what I believe the magic is to, if you allow it, to release those layers that are actually holding you back right now from feeling that what you want by wanting more money, for example.
Definitely. And apologies if I'm still not diving straight into story, but
Yeah, she's like deflecting. She's not answering my question.
trigger.
She's avoiding. That's how it is when people, you know, when people avoid triggers.
This is what a trigger avoider looks like. One of my favorite spiritual teachers, David Guillaume, I was just listening to a one of his talks this morning, and I have him in my ear a lot. And he says this a lot, but he says prayer is not, well, he said prayer is technology, but it's not where we're asking for something we want or to change the reality so it fits us better. If it's done right, it's actually asking that we change so that we can receive the miracle. Because he says the creator is always, because you were mentioning the sun, right? The sun is always shining, no matter what we do. If it's cloudy, the sun is still shining. It's just doing its thing, right? And prayer is the technology that opens us up. The creator is always the miracle. And prayer opens us up to be able to receive the miracle. And when it comes to these triggers, and what Analena is also already hinting at and wants us to get to sooner rather than later, is what I like to call clogged pipes. If
Yeah, I love how you say that.
what my dear friend talks about as constipated chakras.
That's called a plumber, guys.
Yes, because how are we gonna, and if you look at the Kabbalistic tree of life, right, or the chakra system, everything starts up here, divine inspiration, and then we have to move it through somehow, and ultimately through words and actions it becomes a reality. That's what create the creative act is all about, right? But the
Mhm.
more your pipes are clogged, the less of that light and that divine inspiration will actually make it in the physical form, also in the ways of financial abundance. And so, what our goal is in life, and I'm just speaking collectively, hopefully you're on board, is to open our receiving channels more so that we can become a bigger, larger vessel for more light to come through, clean, all the way clean. It comes, this much comes in the top, and as much of it as possible still makes it into the real world or into 3D through your actions and words. And so
Mhm.
that is when we are allowing ourselves to alchemize the fear patterns, and the triggers are our the triggers are the language of your body to show you where you're not open in your pipes, where you're not allowing the light through. And there's a lot of good ways to not listen to that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I love this so much because let's just talk about this briefly before we then really go into the triggers. We're really doing this on purpose, I think, right? We want to avoid the triggers. So with prayer, because when I pray and ask, okay, God, please give me more money, oftentimes we only lean to the creator higher source when we want something, right? And that's obviously very repellent energy. It's like imagine you're in a romantic partnership and you only like talk to your partner when you want something, right? I think we know how this goes. So what I hear you say right now is that rather than asking for what we think we want, it's more about asking the creator, and this kind of leans also into the wonder questions and curiosity, like, creator, can you show me what truth needs to be revealed to me? What do I need to let go of and release so that I become an open vessel, like in Kabbalah, right? To actually receive this abundance that I feel like I do desire more financial abundance in my life, right? It's a very different energy than like, can I have this, please? You know, because I would be like, nah, maybe not. Let's talk later because there is, yeah, a very push away energy and kind of a commanding energy rather than, okay, we're here to co-create and maybe there's a reason why currently the relationship with money is not so well. And are you willing to look at that and actually go through this journey?
Like my almost 12-year-old son in the car this morning was having a little fit when I wanted to listen to your Voxers instead of playing his Brazilian funk music on the way to school. And he was like, he was saying all these words and he was having all this grumpy energy. And I'm like, not with that energy, you know? And then he turned to the side, he felt his feelings, he pulled his hoodie over his head. And then I started listening to your stuff, and he actually really liked the story that you
Oh,
shared.
really?
Then he
Uh,
turned back straight. And then after a few minutes, I'm like, okay, I just wanted to listen to that part. And now we can listen to your music as well, because I do want you to have fun, right? But
hmm.
when he's like with this, but I wanna, then I'm like, no.
Yeah, yeah.
And money is always available. Money is light. They're every day they're printing more of it, right? And if it's not landing in our lives the way we want it to, then like you say, let's open up with a wonder question, for example, of creator or just general universe. I wonder how I can become a larger vessel for financial abundance and see what comes through, you know?
Yeah, exactly. We're not here to figure it out. And as we ask those questions, we open ourselves up, right? Because once we have this intention to have a more expansive relationship with money, be prepared. There will be triggers because the universe knows that we have some stories, we have some patterns, beliefs, and stories that are connected with a lot of these unprocessed emotions and feelings. And when we get triggered, so for example, um, if I am in a situation where I receive an unexpected bill, I have had those things in the past. There was something many, many years ago where I actually had an insurance and I used the insurance, and then something that was super trivial turned into like a $700 bill. And I was so triggered by it because it should have been covered completely. And it was so crazy that I was felt like a victim. I wanted to scream. And I took months. And eventually I surrendered and I really allowed myself to feel it and actually feel the part of me that felt like a victim. I feel like it was so unjust. And that really helped me shift that pattern more and more over time. But I could have totally fought it and run away from it and kept myself busy and ignore what it really felt to me in the moment because these, especially big trigger moments, that's where the biggest magic is for us to rise. Like the deeper the trigger, right, the higher we can rise from it. And yes, it's very, very uncomfortable. And the thing is that we want to make you guys aware of today is that, or this invitation for you to be like, okay, how do you react by default or respond by default when you get triggered with something with money? And it could be something different. It doesn't have to be a big bill. I mean, it could be that you feel triggered when you see people that have a lot of money and you don't even have to pay anything extra, right? Or you feel like something is unfair, or you feel triggered when you want something and you don't have the money for it. I mean, there's so many different scenarios how we can get triggered. But do you tend to get really busy because it's so uncomfortable to feel it? Do you tend to lash out on other people, get angry, or project your anger that you have towards money onto some other people, right? Or do you get into this state of actually, oh, what's their high trigger? How are you? Let's feel this. Let's breathe into it. Where do you feel it in your body?
Yeah, that's beautiful. And like you said, there are so many different ways of having money triggers, right? For me, for example, I shared this in a post and in an email yesterday, but it was just for me, what was always triggering for the longest time. I mean, not when I was married, and I had a very different money story when I was married, but as long as I've been self self-explored, self-employed, for the longest time, I had month ends, end of month was really triggering for me. I often had no matter if I even did 20K months, or whatever it was, or 15K, 25, like a really nice number for my lifestyle. End of month would trigger me because I would often still feel like, what if I can't pay my bills? And what if I can't pay my bills end of next month? If this month was covered, then it would be the fear of the next month. And
Mm,
when I dove deeper into it and I finally had enough and couldn't pay my rent, I had to dive into it. I was forced to. And why? Because I kept recreating with my pattern, with this fear that I had of becoming homeless, that, I kind of was aware of it, but I didn't think it was my underlying big trigger for why I made these financial um, decisions that I did, and not really terrible decisions either, just very subtle things that would eventually lead to this 1 month that I needed to experience where I actually couldn't pay my rent. So that I would have to face that fear and ask it what it wants to teach me. Because as long as I didn't ask that fear what it wanted to teach me, that fear of being homeless and not being able to have a home for myself and my children, I was not learning the lesson, and I was recreating unconsciously that scenario over and over again because part of me actually wanted to manifest that reality. That's what fears and unconscious or not dealt with triggers in us they do. They make us they operate unconsciously and make us take action so that we actually eventually have to face our fear, which is why in Kabbalah they say if you rely on something for happiness or validation or anything, safety, it has to go away because you want to actually learn that lesson because you actually don't want to create that again and again and again. So
Mhm.
for me, when I ask that fear, what is the lesson? Creator, what do you actually want me to know and understand? Because by now I know that it's always like a message from the creator that actually is a positive message. The creator wanted me to know that I always have a home. As long as I have a home in him, I have a home in the physical world and that I will never be homeless. And then I had to cry and then I got it. I'm like, oh, this was easier than I thought, right? But even though it wasn't even it wasn't even a hundredth as bad and painful and scary as I made it out it would be. By
Mhm.
avoiding it for so long, I actually caused myself so much more pain than actually just feeling the trigger and alchemizing it into wisdom. And and that was so powerful to me. I had the same teaching a while ago when I was also a constant cycle of feeling lonely in my life, no matter if my whole family was here and I was still in a relationship. And there again, the creator just wanted me to know that I'm never lonely when I'm with him. So it's this, and this is ultimately what makes us feel whole, is the spirituality, the fulfillment of it's okay. I don't need anything else if I have the creator, and that's the ultimate piece of manifestation too. If I have the creator, I'm actually unlimited and I can create anything, but you create it. And this is the ultimate from the inside out thing that we're always talking about, right? But here you have the manual of how to actually do it. And
Yeah.
just one more little quick thing by constantly being busy and making my life harder than it needed to be, I actually tricked myself into avoiding that fear fully too, so that I could just keep going. And then I kept going on the yo-yo up and down, and it
Mhm.
was gnarly.
Yeah, because that's the thing, right? When you get to a situation like this and then you just push yourself, okay, how can I make more money now? And that's not a bad idea, obviously, right? When we're tight with money. But if you avoid feeling, actually, like you described it, what you allowed yourself to really go into, now from this place, there is a shift that we don't want to have to repeat the same pattern over and over again. And we can call in more money from a much more grounded place because you have released something, right? You have energetically healed something within yourself. And that's the same that I have been experiencing. Like every time I have money trigger situations, that and it's even like sometimes when we have extra money, right? Then oh now there's of course there's a bill and now the money goes out the window. And rather than complaining about it, it's like, let me just be with that. What is that sensation? I think what's coming up there with me would be, um, oh, I don't feel worthy of actually holding on to the money, right? And it's like, why? And then let's go deep into this and actually reflect. So there's so much wisdom in pausing and looking at it because when you do that, you actually work with your nervous system, right? You actually start to release these suppressed emotions I was talking about. And eventually over time, and this is going to be in layers, right? It does take time. It's not like a, oh, you do it once and never again kind of situation, because I really believe in slow and steady progress. That's what seems to work really well for me. All of my clients, I've seen it with us, how much we have transformed over the last 7 years. And being very honest about where we're at, how we feel, what triggers us without blaming it onto other people and really alchemizing this triggering heavy energy into magic and expansion. So I call this always like fear alchemy too, because it's really like we're alchemizing these fears. And it's also, again, like in the gene keys. Richard Rudd always beautifully reminds us that the gift is in the shadow. So if you're trying to avoid the shadow, which in this case is the trigger, well, probably we're not going to access the gift. And yeah, we may make a lot more money, but then in this unstable nervous system state where you may have a lot of money, but you feel scared to lose it, or you have a very, very hard time holding on to it, or you have a lot of money and it's never enough, and you keep always chasing, and you're always in this fight or flight, right? That's why, again, no matter where you're at with the amount of money you have, leaning into those triggers is so magical, and it's what we are the best at trying to avoid. And we are avoiding this by being busy, by scrolling on social media, by binge eating, by watching too much TV, all these distractions that we have. There are also lots of substances that some are more socially accepted than others, right? But anything that helps us to avoid feeling it. And the other thing that I want to add to this that I learned at some point, which was such an eye opener for me and really helped me, like, well, let's feel these emotions and these triggers, was that I learned that we're using unconsciously in some way almost 70% of our energy by being busy, by distracting, by being on social media and doing all the things to keep suppressing these uncomfortable emotions so we don't have to feel them. And when we can face them right on and say, hi, how are you? Let's have a talk. What do you want to tell me? No, seriously,
So
right? It's
it
like,
can go like that.
yeah. And it's actually, it may be like 10 minutes. You may have a big cry. You may feel very like tight in your body. Usually it's in terms of the areas, it's usually either in your belly area, or the other one is like your chest and throat area, or like your upper back. I personally have it most in my upper back and a little bit in my throat. Throat has gotten so much better. When I started this work many years ago, I had a lot. Like I could actually move the energy through my throat a lot. And in my back, I have noticed that it used to be super intense, almost like somebody was like latching onto me or something like this. And now I still have a sensation there when I get triggered, but it has like subsided. It has gotten less and less over time, so I can really notice the progress. And I really feel like, wow, I really feel like this could be completely free. I mean, I could free myself really from this eventually. And it's really cool when you have that feeling of expansion and like, wow, it's actually possible to shift those stories and teach our nervous system a completely different story with money.
Yeah, and I think at the beginning when we did this, we did it a little bit more unconsciously and somewhat intentionally, but now that we have more of like the whole overview, it can actually go a lot more direct because we know like what to ask, what to do, and how to direct these things. Like you said, how to use the gene keys for it, how to bring in Kabbalah and all of the other things, the shift method that you've developed, all of these things.
Yeah.
We don't have to wait 7 years anymore.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is actually so Alex and I, our experience, and this is why I love the work that we do, right? We go through challenges, we go through trial and error, which we both have done so much. We have gotten all the certifications and all the trainings and courses. And that's exactly why now we have, yeah, in a way, a system, but it's very flexible. It's very individual and unique to how you can apply it. It's not like this, like you have to follow these exact steps. It's more like you have a very precise toolkit that you have these tools to use from, and it brings it to your awareness. And this is exactly what we are guiding you through in the wealth frequency that starts on May 14, where we take you through this. It's called the shift method because it's really here to shift something within you. Not, and as you shift within, your outside world starts to recalibrate. And our focus here and intention is on your relationship with money and really feeling wealthy, and with an age, the wealthy, right? Because everything we talked about today, I think it's very clear, yeah, that it's not just about making more money. That's also part of it because I really believe the more money you have access to with your good heart, we can do so much good in the world. So much good in the world. I was yesterday at a Pitbull concert and this man shared all the goodness he's doing with schools, and he was a school dropout. What he struggled with in his youth, and now because he has access to this, like he's doing so much goodness in the world. And I want to see all humans that have a good heart to use their money to create more goodness in this world. So limiting our money and telling ourselves the story that money is evil or bad, like that's not serving anyone, right? Um, but we want to help you create that from within yourself, not just as a clutch, right? Where you, oh, now I feel fine because I made the money, but then we're scared to lose it again. Really from a place of wholeness and well-being, where you are making money also in a way that is aligned with your freaking zone of genius and what you're naturally good at. We talked about this on the last episode, where it becomes more effortless and joyful. And as you keep expanding and doing more of what you're meant to be doing with your unique purpose and gifts you're given, the prosperity and abundance also grows in a way that's aligned for you, right? We're not all going to be like Pitbull and having like millions or billions of dollars, right? So, but for some, it's six figures. For other people, it's seven figures, whatever it's meant. And I think it can also shift and change over time. But if you have this knowing within yourself and this desire that you are meant for more, I would really invite you to trust that. And we are inviting you to join us on the Wealth Frequency. We already have a beautiful growing group together. I'm super excited. And those that have joined, they're really excited to go on this journey with us. And it's really like, I feel like an energy vortex we are creating here. And listen, if you are a billionaire, or if you feel like you're very struggling with money, you are both very welcome. Because like we said in the beginning, this is not about how much money you have in your bank account right now. Not at all. It's about really feeling safe and relaxed when it comes to money and use it in a way that can create more abundance in the world.
I love that.
That was my sales pitch.
It was beautiful and it felt grounded and expansive. So I think
I mean, it's just no, seriously, guys, it's an invitation. And I have been wanting to launch a money program. It was over 3 years ago, and I called it Money Romance at the time. And I already had the same thoughts and ideas at that time, but I wasn't ready at that time. I had to go through my own transformation with money yet. And now I really feel strong and grounded to hold that space and the capacity and the energy to guide you into this as well. Because it does take a lot of confidence and wisdom, and our own experience with that to hold a container like that.
definitely. And I'm excited for it as well.
Yeah, we're both, yeah. Alex and I, we are here to guide you through that 12-week journey. If you're interested, you're gonna find the link in the show notes with some more details. And yeah, just know it's going to be amazing. And just trust yourself, right? Don't join it from a place of scarcity. Like you're gonna be fine without it. But if you feel like, wow, this is your right next step, lean into it, trust yourself on that, and come join us. If you have questions, you can reach out to Alex or myself, and we happy to answer them.
Yes. And
Awesome.
until then, we will see you in the next spiritual money talk and sending you a lot of blessings.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for being with us. Ciao.
Bye.